I found the photograph on a Tuesday afternoon tucked inside a book I'd lent him 3 years ago. The book was The Count of Monte Cristo. How's that for cosmic irony? The photo showed my wife's hand, her wedding ring catching the light, resting on a chest I'd recognize anywhere. I'd seen that chest 1,000 times in locker rooms at the beach, in the mirror behind him as we took selfies at the gym. The timestamp in the corner read 8 months before our wedding. I sat on my kitchen floor for 6 hours straight, the book still open, the photograph face up on the tile, while my wife texted me from her girls' weekend asking what I wanted for dinner when she got back. His name was Tyler Brennan, and he'd been my best friend for 17 years. The thing about betrayal, real betrayal, the kind that rewires your entire understanding of reality, is that it doesn't announce itself with dramatic music and slow-motion reveals. It slips into your life wearing the face of normalcy, ordering the same beer it always orders, laughing at your jokes the same way it always laughed, while behind its eyes, something ancient and cruel counts the days until you finally understand what's been done to you. I need you to understand something before I go any further. This isn't a story about a man who suspected something and investigated. This is a story about a man who trusted completely, loved without reservation, and built his entire adult life around two people who were systematically destroying him while smiling to his face. This is about what happens when you realize the foundation you've built your life on was never real at all. Let me take you back to the beginning, the friendship. I met Tyler in freshman year at Oregon State. I was an engineering student from a small town in Idaho, Sandpoint, population barely 5,000, where my dad ran a hardware store and my mom taught second grade. College was supposed to be my big adventure, my chance to become someone beyond the kid who could fix tractors and knew everyone's business. Move-in day, I was struggling with a mini fridge, trying to angle it through a doorway that seemed engineered specifically to reject rectangular objects when this guy appeared at my elbow. "You're approaching this all wrong," he said. "Tilt it 30 degrees to your left, lift with your legs and think light thoughts." Think light thoughts? The fridge responds to positive energy. I laughed, adjusted my grip, and the damn thing slid through like butter. "Tyler Brennan," he said, extending his hand. "Room 412, computer science major, coffee addict, and apparently fridge whisperer. Derek Sullivan, engineering, coffee enthusiast, not yet addicted." Give it a semester. He was right. By October, we were meeting every morning at the campus coffee shop, a depressing little place called The Grind that served burnt coffee in styrofoam cups, but stayed open 24 hours during finals. Tyler had this way of making everything feel like an adventure. A late-night study session became a competition to see who could function on the least sleep. A terrible campus cafeteria meal became an opportunity to create elaborate backstories for the other students. He had energy, charisma, the kind of natural magnetism that made people want to be around him. I was quieter, more methodical. I thought things through. Tyler dove in headfirst and figured it out on the way down. We balanced each other. Where I saw obstacles, he saw opportunities. Where he saw possibilities, I saw practical limitations. Together, we made sense. By sophomore year, we'd moved into an off-campus apartment with two other guys who lasted exactly one semester before transferring to different schools. We didn't replace them. The place became our headquarters. Tyler coded his first app at our kitchen table, a campus navigation tool that actually worked better than the official one. I designed a water filtration system for my senior project. On our living room floor, we pulled all-nighters together, celebrated victories together, nursed hangovers together. "We're building something here, Derek," Tyler said one night, both of us half drunk on cheap beer and the invincibility of being 21 years old. "Sullivan-Brennan Empire, we're going to conquer the world, brother. The world's a big place, so we'll start with Portland and work our way up." He always talked like that. Big dreams, bigger plans. I was the anchor to his balloon, the reality check to his ambition. He used to joke that he'd come up with the ideas and I'd figure out how to make them actually work. He wasn't wrong. After graduation, we both landed jobs in Portland. I went to work for a structural engineering firm called Cascade Design Group. Tyler got recruited by a tech startup called Pixelvine that was trying to revolutionize something or other. The details changed every time he explained it, but the paycheck was real and the stock options seemed promising. We got an apartment in the Pearl District, a 2-bedroom with exposed brick and industrial fixtures that cost more than my dad made in 3 months. But we were young professionals now, living the Portland dream, and nothing was going to stop us. That's when I met Sarah. Sarah? I need to tell you about Sarah because you need to understand what I lost. You need to understand why the photograph hurt the way it did. I met her at a coffee shop in northwest Portland. Not the grind, we'd graduated beyond burnt coffee in styrofoam, but a place called Cathedral Coffee where they took their beans seriously and the baristas had strong opinions about extraction time. I was there on a Saturday morning working on a bridge design project when someone bumped my table and sent my coffee cascading across my laptop keyboard. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I looked up into the most striking green eyes I'd ever seen. She had auburn hair pulled back in a messy bun, wore paint splattered, jeans and a vintage Fleetwood Mac t-shirt, and looked genuinely horrified. "It's okay," I said, frantically tilting my laptop to drain the coffee. "It's not that bad. It's terrible. I'm a disaster. Let me buy you another coffee. And a new laptop. Do they sell laptops here?" Despite my panic about the laptop, which miraculously survived, I laughed. "Just the coffee is fine. I'm Sarah Wellington, professional klutz and ruiner of mornings. Derek Sullivan, amateur engineer, and apparently bad at laptop placement." She insisted on buying me a coffee and a pastry by way of apology. Then she sat down to make sure I wasn't going to sue her or something, and we started talking. She was an art teacher at a charter school in southeast Portland, working on a series of paintings about urban isolation in her spare time. She asked about my bridge design with genuine interest, didn't glaze over when I explained load distribution, and actually had intelligent questions about how you account for environmental factors. 3 hours later, we were still talking. The coffee shop closed for a private event, and we moved to a bar down the street. The bar closed and we sat on a bench in a nearby park. By the time I walked her to her car, the sun was coming up, and I knew with absolute certainty that I'd just met someone important. "So," she said, leaning against her car door, "are you going to ask for my number, or am I going to have to spill coffee on you again?" I got her number. We had our first date 3 days later. We were engaged 11 months after that. Tyler loved Sarah from the moment he met her. I brought her to the apartment about 2 weeks into our relationship, nervous about the introduction in a way I couldn't quite explain. Tyler was my best friend, and Sarah was becoming something profound and essential, and I needed them to get along. They did more than get along. They clicked immediately. Tyler made her laugh with stories about our college disasters. Sarah gave as good as she got, teasing both of us with the kind of easy comfort that usually takes years to develop. She fit into our friendship like she'd always been there. "She's perfect for you," Tyler said after Sarah left that first night. "Don't screw this up, Sullivan." "I'm not planning to." "Good. Because if you do, I'm taking her side in the divorce." We laughed. God, we laughed. Sarah became part of our unit. The three of us did trivia nights at the bar down the street. We had Sunday brunches where Tyler and Sarah would gang up on me about my coffee snobbery or my obsessive spreadsheet organization. When I proposed to Sarah on a hiking trip to Silver Falls at sunrise, after carrying the ring in my pocket for 3 weeks waiting for the perfect moment, Tyler was the first person I called. She said yes. She said yes. I knew she would. "She's crazy about you, man. I'm happy for you. You deserve this." He sounded genuinely emotional. I remember thinking how lucky I was to have a friend who cared that much about my happiness. Tyler was my best man, obviously. He threw me a bachelor party that was exactly what I wanted. No strippers, no Vegas, just our closest friends at a cabin on the coast, fishing and drinking and telling stories. He gave a speech at the wedding that made Sarah cry and made me realize how deeply our friendship had shaped who I was. "Derek Sullivan is the best man I know," he said, raising his glass. "And I don't mean best man in the wedding party sense, though that's also true. I mean best in the way that matters. Loyal, honest, kind, dependable. He's the guy you call at 3 a.m. He's the guy who shows up. He's the guy who makes you want to be better. Sarah, you're getting something rare. Take care of him, because the world doesn't make many like Derek." People were crying. I was crying. Tyler hugged me after the speech and whispered, "Love you, brother." "Love you too, man." Sarah and I honeymooned in Thailand. 2 weeks of temples and beaches and the kind of happiness that feels almost frightening in its intensity. We came back to Portland, moved into a house in Selwood. A cute craftsman with a garden Sarah immediately started planning and settled into married life. Tyler was over at least twice a week. He'd show up for dinner, help with house projects, join us for movie nights. Sarah would cook. She was an incredible cook, one of those people who could look at a refrigerator full of random ingredients and produce something restaurant-worthy. And the three of us would sit around our dining room table talking until midnight about everything and nothing. "I should probably get my own friends," Tyler joked one night. "You two are married. I'm the third wheel." "You're not a third wheel," Sarah said. "You're part of the team." "The Sullivan-Brennan empire expands," I added, now with improved Sarah integration. "The best edition yet," Tyler said, raising his beer to her. She smiled at him. Just a smile, the kind of smile you give a friend who's said something nice. But it's the smiles you remember later, after you know what they meant, after you understand what was happening behind them. 3 years into my marriage, I thought I had it all figured out. A job I loved at Cascade Design Group, where I'd been promoted to senior structural engineer. A wife I adored who challenged me intellectually and emotionally. A best friend who felt more like a brother. A house that was slowly becoming a home as we painted walls and planted gardens and accumulated the debris of a shared life. I was happy. Genuinely, completely happy. The kind of happiness that makes you grateful, that makes you want to be kind to strangers because you feel like you have so much good in your life that it needs to overflow somewhere. I thought I knew everything about the people I loved. I thought I understood the shape of my life. I was wrong about everything. The photograph, let me take you back to that Tuesday. I need you to feel what I felt, understand the sequence of small moments that led to everything unraveling. It was October, one of those perfect Portland autumn days where the light comes in gold and the air smells like rain and fallen leaves. Sarah had gone to Eugene for a long weekend with her college friends, something they did twice a year, a tradition from before we met that I'd always supported. Tyler had texted me asking if he could borrow a book I had on system architecture. He was working on a new project at Pixelvine and thought my textbook might help. "Sure, come by and grab it," I texted back. "Actually, I'm slammed today. Is it the blue one with the bent cover? If so, I think it's still at my place from when I borrowed it last year." I'd actually forgotten he had it. "Yeah, that's the one. Keep it as long as you need." "Thanks, brother." That should have been it. A normal, forgettable exchange. But that night I was looking for a different book, The Count of Monte Cristo, which I'd been meaning to reread and couldn't find it. I texted Tyler, "Hey, do you have my copy of Monte Cristo? Can't find it anywhere." "Probably. Want me to check?" "Nah, I'll swing by tomorrow and look. Got a key still?" "Yeah, under the mat like always. Help yourself." The next day was Tuesday. I stopped by Tyler's apartment after work. He lived in a modern complex in the Lloyd district, one of those places with a gym nobody uses and a rooftop terrace with nice views and uncomfortable furniture. His apartment was on the 4th floor, neat in the way that single guys' apartments are neat, which is to say, organized around the path of least resistance. Mail stacked on the counter. A single dish in the sink, everything functional. I found the book on his shelf, right where I'd expected. The Count of Monte Cristo, paperback, with my name written on the inside cover from college. I pulled it out and something fluttered to the floor. A photograph, 4x6, printed on glossy paper, slightly faded. I picked it up without thinking. Just a reflexive gesture, cleaning up the thing that had fallen. Then I saw what it was. The world has a way of going very quiet when your brain encounters something it can't process. Not silent, you can still hear things, the hum of the refrigerator, traffic outside, your own breathing, but quiet in the way that matters, like someone's turned down the volume on reality so you can focus on the impossible thing in front of you. The photograph showed a woman's hand. The hand wore a wedding ring I'd spent 2 months' salary on, a simple platinum band with a small diamond. The hand was resting on a man's bare chest. The man's face wasn't in the frame, but I could see his collarbone, his shoulder, the beginning of his neck. I could see a tattoo I'd been there for when he got it, a geometric design on his left pectoral that he'd gotten after his grandmother died because she'd always loved patterns. The timestamp in the corner, barely visible, read the date and time. 8 months before my wedding. 3 months into my engagement. During the period when Sarah and I were planning the biggest day of our lives while I was working 70-hour weeks on a major bridge project. I stood in Tyler's apartment, holding the photograph, trying to make my brain work. This couldn't be what it looked like. There had to be an explanation. Maybe it was someone else's hand. Maybe the ring was similar to Sarah's, but not the same. Maybe the timestamp was wrong. Maybe I was having a stroke and hallucinating the whole thing. I turned the photo over. On the back, in handwriting I recognized, were 3 words, "Before you knew." Sarah's handwriting, Sarah's words. I sat down on Tyler's floor. Not because I decided to sit, I don't think there was any decision involved, but because my legs simply stopped supporting my weight. The book was still in my left hand, the photograph in my right. I stared at the photo, then at the book, then back at the photo, trying to create a reality where these two things made sense together. The Count of Monte Cristo. The story of Edmond Dantes betrayed by his best friend who spends years planning revenge. The photograph. The proof that my best friend and my wife had betrayed me in the most fundamental way possible. Before I even knew what I had, before the wedding, before the vows. I thought about every moment, every dinner, every laugh, every time the three of us had been together. I thought about Tyler's best man speech. Derek is the best man I know. I thought about Sarah's vows. I promise to love you, honor you, and remain faithful to you. I thought about the bachelor party at the cabin, Tyler organizing everything, making sure I had a good time. Had he been thinking about her then, about what they'd done? I thought about our wedding night. Sarah and I in the honeymoon suite, beginning our married life together. Had she been thinking about him, comparing, remembering? I sat on that floor for 6 hours. I know it was 6 hours because I watched the light change through Tyler's windows. Watched the afternoon fade to evening to night. I heard Tyler's neighbors come and go. I heard someone practicing piano in the apartment below. I heard my phone buzz repeatedly. Sarah texting from her trip, asking about my day, sending photos of wine and cheese, and her friends laughing. Miss your heart. Can't wait to come home tomorrow. Love you so much. I read those messages on my phone screen, looked at the photograph in my hand, and felt something inside me break in a way I knew would never fully heal. Around 9 p.m., I stood up. I put the photograph in my pocket. I put the book back on the shelf. I locked Tyler's apartment, put the key back under the mat, and went home. Our house was dark and quiet. I walked through it like I was seeing it for the first time. The kitchen where Sarah cooked dinners for the three of us. The living room where Tyler sat in his chair during movie nights. The bedroom where Sarah and I had made love, built intimacy, shared secrets, created the foundation of a marriage. How much of it was real? How much was performance? I didn't sleep that night. I lay in our bed, Sarah's side empty, the photograph on the nightstand next to a picture of us from our wedding day. In the wedding photo, we were laughing, mid-kiss, Tyler visible in the background, giving a thumbs up. I stared at both photos until the sun came up. The investigation. Sarah came home Wednesday evening. I heard her car in the driveway, heard her key in the lock, heard her call out her usual greeting. "Honey, I'm home, and I brought you wine." She came into the kitchen where I was sitting at the table, dropped her bag, and kissed me. A real kiss, warm and familiar and affectionate. The kind of kiss that was supposed to mean something. "I missed you," she said. "The trip was fun, but I always miss you." "Missed you too," I heard myself say. I watched her unpack, tell me about the weekend, show me photos on her phone. She was animated, happy, completely normal. She asked about my week. I told her about work, about a new project I'd started, about the weather. Normal things, the performance of normalcy. The photograph was in my pocket. I could feel it there, a weight that seemed far heavier than paper should be. I didn't confront her. Not then. I need you to understand why. Because if I confronted her with just the photograph, She would explain it away. She would say it was old. It meant nothing. It was a mistake from before we were serious. Before she knew what we had, she would cry and apologize and promise it was nothing. And I would want to believe her so badly that I probably would. But before you knew wasn't the handwriting of someone who regretted a mistake. It was the handwriting of someone keeping a trophy, a reminder, a memory of something that mattered. I needed to know the truth, all of it, not the version they would give me if confronted, but the actual truth, the scope, the scale, the reality. So I said nothing. I kissed my wife goodnight. I went to work the next morning. I met Tyler for lunch on Friday and listened to him talk about his project at Pixelvine, watched him eat his sandwich, heard him laugh at his own jokes. "You okay, man?" he asked at one point. "You seem distant." "Just tired. Big project at work." "Don't work too hard. You've got to maintain that work-life balance." Right. Balance. He paid for lunch. He always paid for lunch. I used to joke that he owed me roughly 10,000 meals from college when I covered him before his startup took off. He joked back that he was working on it. One overpriced Portland sandwich at a time. "Same time next week?" he asked as we left the restaurant. "Same time next week." I watched him walk away, hands in his pockets, whistling. Completely comfortable, completely confident. Why wouldn't he be? He'd been getting away with it for years. That weekend I started investigating. Carefully, methodically, with the same systematic approach I used for engineering problems. Define the question, gather data, test hypotheses, draw conclusions. The question: what was the full extent of their betrayal? The data gathering. I started paying attention. Real attention, the kind that sees what's actually there, rather than what you expect to see. I noticed that Sarah's phone was always face down on the counter. Always. Had it always been that way? I couldn't remember. I noticed that she took calls in other rooms. "Just Rachel," she'd say, "just planning next month's girls' trip." Was Rachel calling every other night? I noticed that Tyler's visits, which I'd thought were random and spontaneous, followed a pattern. He came over on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Sarah's schedule had her late at school those days, grading papers or running the art club. But was she actually there late? I started a document on my laptop. Spreadsheet, because I'm an engineer, and that's how my brain works. I tracked everything. Dates, times, behaviors, inconsistencies. October 15th. Sarah says she's at school late. Her car is at school when I drive by at 7 p.m. Comes home at 9:15 p.m. October 17th. Tyler visits, stays until 11. Sarah goes to bed at 10:30, says she's exhausted. Tyler and I watch TV for another 30 minutes. His phone buzzes repeatedly. He ignores it, but I notice. October 19th. Sarah's phone rings while she's in the shower. I don't answer it, but I see the screen. Ty calling. She's never called him Ty. I've never heard anyone call him Ty. I felt like I was losing my mind. Every piece of data could be explained innocently. School does run late. Tyler's phone buzzes because he's popular. Maybe Ty was just shorter than Tyler when you're in a rush to type. But the photograph existed. The photograph was real. And once you know something is wrong, you can't unknow it. You start seeing the patterns you've been trained to ignore. 3 weeks into my investigation, I did something I'm not proud of. I went through Sarah's laptop while she was at school. I told myself I was looking for confirmation that I was wrong, that I'd find nothing and could relax, could forget the photograph, could go back to my happy life with my loving wife and my best friend. I found her journal. A digital journal she kept in a password-protected folder. The password was our wedding date. The irony of that didn't escape me. The first entry I read was from 2 months after our wedding. Saw tea today at the grocery store. Just a chance encounter, both of us buying coffee. We didn't plan it. But God, the way he looked at me, the way I still react to him. Derek was working late. We went back to T's place for coffee. I know I shouldn't. I know this is wrong, but I can't stop. I've tried. Every time I think I'm done, every time I promise myself this is the last time, I see him and everything else disappears. Derek is good. Derek is safe. Derek is the right choice. But T is everything else. I read entry after entry, a catalogue of betrayal spanning years, not just before the wedding, that would have been bad enough, but after, during, throughout our entire marriage. They had a system. Tuesday and Thursday evenings when Sarah stayed late at school, she'd go to Tyler's apartment. Sometimes Tyler would come to our house when I was travelling for work conferences. They were careful, they were strategic. They never got sloppy, except for one photograph, one trophy that Tyler had kept, hidden in a book he probably forgot I'd lent him. One entry from 6 months ago destroyed me. Dee asked me today if I wanted to start trying for kids. He was so excited, so hopeful. I said yes, because what else could I say? But the truth is, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can bring a child into this lie. I don't know whose child it would be. I don't know anything anymore, except that I love two men in completely different ways, and I'm destroying all three of us. I closed the laptop. I walked to the bathroom and vomited. She'd written those words 6 months ago. 6 months of me thinking we were planning our future together. 6 months of me being excited about starting a family. 6 months of her lying to my face while writing about her confusion in a journal protected by our wedding date. The betrayal wasn't just sexual, it wasn't just physical, it was complete. They had taken everything, my trust, my friendship, my marriage, my future, and systematically hollowed it out while maintaining the performance of normalcy. I made a decision that night. I would not confront them, not yet. Confrontation would lead to denial, to manipulation, to them closing ranks and spinning a story where I was the crazy one, the paranoid husband who couldn't handle his wife having a male friend. Number. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. I was going to gather undeniable proof. I was going to understand the full scope of what they'd done. And then I was going to make sure they faced consequences that matched the scale of their betrayal. I thought about Edmond Dantes, betrayed by his best friend, locked away while his friend lived the life that should have been his. But Dantes got out. Dantes became someone new. Dantes made them pay. I went back to my spreadsheet, but now it wasn't just tracking their behaviors, it was planning something else entirely. I was going to destroy them both, carefully, methodically, with the same precision they'd used to destroy me. But first, I needed to know everything, the documentation. I became someone I didn't recognize, someone patient and calculating in ways that felt foreign to the person I'd been. The Derek Sullivan who trusted completely, who saw the best in people, who took relationships at face value, that person died on Tyler Brennan's apartment floor. Someone else came back from there. Someone harder. I bought a voice-activated recorder. Small thing, no bigger than a car key, that I hid in the living room. I told myself I was gathering evidence for a divorce. I told myself I needed protection, that Sarah would try to take me for everything if I didn't have proof. These were the lies I used to justify becoming a spy in my own home. The first recording that mattered happened on a Thursday night. Tyler had come over for dinner. Sarah made this Italian dish she knew he loved. I realized now that she knew all his favorites, had been cooking them for years, had been feeding both of us the same meals with entirely different motivations. After dinner, I excused myself. Got to take a work call, I said. Client emergency. I went upstairs to my office, closed the door, and didn't call anyone. I just sat there, listening through my laptop to the live feed from the recorder downstairs. For 20 minutes, nothing. They did dishes, they talked about a movie, normal conversation. I was starting to think, maybe I was wrong, maybe I was paranoid, maybe the journal entries were just fantasy. Then Tyler said, "He doesn't suspect anything, does he?" A pause, the sound of water shutting off. "No," Sarah said. "Derek doesn't think like that. He trusts people. It's one of the things I love about him." "One of the things?" "Don't be jealous. You know what you are to me." "Do I? Because sometimes I can't tell if I'm the other man or if he is." "That's not fair." "None of this is fair, Sarah. I'm in love with my best friend's wife. You're married to a man you're cheating on. Fair left the building years ago." "I know." Her voice was small. "I know it's wrong. I know we should stop. But I can't lose you. I can't lose either of you. You're going to have to choose eventually." "Why? Why can't we just keep things the way they are?" "Because it's killing me. Watching you with him. Pretending to be happy for you too. Pretending I'm not dying inside every time I leave your house and know he's the one who gets to sleep next to you. Tyler, I love you. You know I love you. I've loved you since the night Derek brought you to our apartment. Before he proposed. Before the wedding. Before any of this got so complicated. I love you too." "Then leave him." Silence. A long, terrible silence. "I can't," Sarah finally said. "Derek is good. He's stable. He's building a life that makes sense. You're brilliant and exciting and everything feels possible when I'm with you, but Derek is safe." "That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what you meant. I'm the passion. He's the security. I'm the affair. He's the husband. I get the stolen moments. He gets the life." "It's not that simple." "It really is." I heard movement. I heard what sounded like kissing. Then Tyler's voice, rough with something I didn't want to identify. "He's upstairs. We have maybe 10 minutes before he wonders what's taking so long." "Tyler, we can't. When's the last time we've been alone, really?" "Alone?" 2 weeks, when Derek was in Seattle for that conference. 2 weeks? Do you know what 2 weeks feels like when I see you 3 times a week and can't touch you? More sounds, movement, something falling. Sarah's breathless voice. "Not here. Not in his house. It's different when it's here. Everything with you is different from everything else. We can't. He could come down." "He won't. He said it was a client emergency. Those take at least 30 minutes. We've timed it." They'd timed my work calls. They knew my patterns. They'd been using my reliability, my predictability, my trustworthiness against me. I listened to them kiss. I listened to Tyler tell my wife he loved her. I listened to my wife, in our home, in our kitchen, respond in kind. I listened to 11 minutes of betrayal happening in real time, and I didn't move, didn't make a sound, didn't rush downstairs to confront them. I sat at my desk,
watching the audio levels spike on my laptop screen, and felt
whatever was left of the old Derek Sullivan burn away completely. After exactly 11 minutes, I closed the program, waited 60 seconds, and went downstairs. They were sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee. Normal, casual. Sarah's cheeks were flushed, but she could have blamed the wine from dinner. Tyler was relaxed, leaning back in his chair, completely comfortable. "Everything okay with the client?" Sarah asked. "All sorted out. Just a misunderstanding about load calculations." "You work too hard," Tyler said. "You've got to learn to set boundaries." Good advice. I should probably work on my boundaries. I sat down with them. We talked for another hour. I learned something that night. When you know the truth, you can see it everywhere. The way Sarah's hand brushed Tyler's when she refilled his coffee, the way he looked at her when he thought I wasn't watching, the way they had entire conversations in glances and small gestures that I'd been interpreting as friendship for years. I'd been reading the wrong language, seeing friendship where I should have seen possession, seeing normalcy where I should have seen deceit. After Tyler left, Sarah and I went to bed. She curled up next to me like always, her head on my chest, her hand over my heart. "I love you," she said. "I love you too," I replied. Both true, both lies. Love is more complicated than we admit. I gathered evidence for 6 weeks, recordings, photographs, journal entries, timestamps. I built a case like an engineer builds a structure. Foundation first, then framework, then details. I discovered they had been together for 4 years. 4 years. It started 3 months after I introduced them. A party at Tyler's startup office. Some celebration for a funding milestone. I'd left early because I had work the next morning. Sarah had stayed. Tyler had driven her home. They'd ended up at his place instead. "We didn't plan it," Sarah wrote in her journal, "but it happened anyway, and it was incredible and terrible. And I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't make myself regret it. Derek is who I should want. Tyler is who I actually want. How do you choose between should and want?" After that first time, they'd tried to stop, made it 3 weeks, then ran into each other at a coffee shop and ended up at his apartment again, made it 2 weeks, then 1 week, then they stopped trying. By the time Tyler gave his best man speech at our wedding, he'd been sleeping with my fiancée for 11 months. By the time Sarah said her vows, promising faithfulness and honoring me before God and everyone we knew, she'd been maintaining an affair for 18 months. By the time I found the photograph, they'd been betraying me for 4 years. I learned all this slowly, methodically. I went through Sarah's laptop whenever I could. I installed monitoring software on our home computer. I tracked her phone when she said she was at school. She wasn't always lying. Sometimes she actually was at school. But Tuesdays and Thursdays, those late nights, she was with him. I followed her once. I'm not proud of it, but I need you to understand the full scope. I told her I was working late, then parked down the street from Tyler's apartment building. I watched her arrive at 6:47 p.m. I watched the lights come on in his 4th-floor apartment. I watched those lights stay on until 10:23 p.m. when she emerged, got in her car, and drove to our house, where she arrived at 10:41 p.m. "Sorry I'm so late," she said when she came in. "Grading took forever." "No problem. How was your day?" "Exhausting. I'm going to take a shower and go straight to bed." I watched her walk upstairs. I smelled Tyler's cologne on her as she passed. I knew what she was about to wash away. I went to the kitchen and added another entry to my spreadsheet, another data point, another piece of evidence, another reason to make them pay. The worst discovery came in week 5. I found emails, they'd been careful, they didn't email often, didn't leave obvious trails. But Tyler had an old email account he apparently forgot to close, and Sarah had sent messages there years ago that neither of them had bothered to delete. One email dated 3 weeks before our wedding. T, I know we said we'd stop, I know this is wrong, but I can't marry him without seeing you one more time. I need to know for certain that I'm making the right choice. Meet me Thursday at the usual place. S. His response: Sarah, you're marrying my best friend. My best friend. Do you understand what that means, what this is doing to me? But yes, Thursday. I can never say no to you. That's the problem. That's always been the problem. T. And then dated the day after they met. T. Thank you for last night, for letting me be confused and scared and honest, for not making me choose before I'm ready. Derek is good for me. He's what I need for the future. But you're everything else. And I don't know how to give that up.
S. She'd slept with him 3 weeks before our wedding. 3 weeks before standing in front of everyone we knew and promising to forsake all others. She'd needed to be sure she was making the right choice. She'd chosen me, but she'd never actually given him up. I printed the emails. I added them to a folder I was accumulating. Physical evidence, undeniable, comprehensive. I had everything I needed for a divorce. A lawyer would take one look at this and give me everything, the house, the savings, probably alimony if I wanted to press for it. Sarah would be finished, her reputation destroyed, her nice little art teacher life shattered. But that wasn't enough. That was tactical. That was legal. That was clean. What they'd done to me wasn't clean. It was 4 years of systematic betrayal. It was making me the joke of my own life, the fool who trusted while everyone else knew the truth. It was stealing my best friend and my wife and making me complicit in my own humiliation by
keeping me ignorant. A divorce would hurt Sarah. It wouldn't touch Tyler, not really. He'd be free. He'd probably end up with her. They'd probably live happily ever after while I rebuilt my life from the wreckage they'd left. Number 1. I needed something bigger. Something that would make them understand what they'd taken from me. Something that would haunt them the way they'd haunt me for the rest of my life. I needed to think like Edmond Dantes, not the Dantes from the beginning of the book, the naive sailor who trusted his friends, the Dantes from the end, the Count, the man who understood that proper revenge requires patience, planning, and a willingness to sacrifice everything for justice. I started planning in December. By January, I knew exactly what I was going to do. The reconstruction. I need to explain something about structural engineering. My job is to understand how things bear weight, how bridges stay up, how buildings resist forces trying to pull them apart. The key principle is this: every structure has a point of maximum stress, a place where the forces concentrate, where the whole thing will fail if you apply enough pressure. People have these points too. Relationships have them. Reputations have them. I spent 2 months identifying Tyler and Sarah's pressure points, the places where targeted force would cause complete structural failure. For Sarah, it was her reputation. She was beloved at her school, the cool art teacher who connected with kids, who made learning creative and fun. She had parents requesting their children be placed in her classes. She'd won a Teaching Excellence Award the previous year. Her professional identity was built on being trustworthy, stable, someone who made good choices. For Tyler, it was his career. Pixelvine had been acquired 6 months earlier by a larger tech company called Meridian Solutions. Tyler was being groomed for senior leadership. He was on track to be director of product development within a year. He'd bought a Tesla. He was shopping for a condo downtown. He talked about options vesting and equity positions like other people talked about the weather. Both of them had built successful lives on foundations of respectability. They were good people as far as the world knew. Kind, ethical, trustworthy. I was going to show the world who they really were, but I couldn't just expose them. That was too simple, too quick, too merciful. I needed them to destroy themselves. The plan came together over late nights in my office while Sarah slept downstairs, exhausted from another late night at school. I mapped it out with the same precision I used for engineering projects. Critical path. Dependencies, risk mitigation, success criteria. Phase 1, information warfare. Phase 2, professional destruction. Phase 3, personal reckoning. Phase 4, revelation. I started Phase 1 in February. Phase 1, information warfare. The key to information warfare is controlling what people know and when they know it. I needed to plant seeds of doubt, create questions, establish patterns that would later make sense when the truth came out. I started with Tyler's work. I'd met several of his colleagues over the years at company events. One of them, a project manager named Rachel Kim, had given me her card once, saying if I ever wanted to transition from traditional engineering to tech, she could make introductions. I reached out to Rachel for coffee. Casual, professional, just exploring options. I've been thinking about making a change, I told her at a coffee shop in downtown Portland. Love structural engineering, but the tech world seems interesting. Tyler talks about Pixelvine all the time. Tyler's a rock star, Rachel said. Everyone loves him. Smart guy, great with clients, real leadership potential. That's Tyler. He's always been good with people. We talked about the industry, about Meridian Solutions, about career paths, then carefully, "Can I ask you something off the record?" "Sure." "How seriously does Meridian take personal conduct? I mean, I know you have ethics policies, but how much do they actually enforce them?" Rachel's expression shifted slightly. "Why do you ask?" "No reason, just thinking about culture fit. In civil engineering, there's a lot of emphasis on professional ethics, personal integrity. I want to make sure I'd be moving to a place that values the same things. Meridian takes ethics very seriously. We just had a director fired for an affair with his assistant. Zero tolerance for relationships that create conflicts of interest or compromise professional judgment. Good to know. That's the kind of culture I want. We finished our coffee. I thanked Rachel for her time. I'd planted the seed. When the time came, she'd remember this conversation. She'd remember that I'd asked about ethics. It would make the revelation more credible, less like revenge, and more like someone reluctantly doing the right thing. Next was Sarah's school. This was more delicate. I couldn't approach her colleagues directly without raising suspicion, but I could create circumstances. Sarah had a coworker named Jennifer, who she mentioned frequently. Jennifer taught English, had 2 kids, was going through a divorce. Sarah had been her support system, the friend who listened to her vent about her cheating husband. The irony was almost too much. I created a new email address. Generic, untraceable. I sent Jennifer a message. "Jennifer, you don't know me, but I know about supporting friends through difficult times. I wanted you to know that the person you're confiding in about your husband's betrayal is betraying someone too. Sometimes the people we trust most are the ones wearing the best masks." a concerned observer. Vague, potentially meaningless, but a seed planted. When everything came out, Jennifer would remember this email. She'd feel betrayed. She'd turn on Sarah hard. I sent similar messages to 3 other teachers at Sarah's school. Not accusations, just implications, questions, doubts. The art teacher isn't who you think she is. Ask Sarah Wellington about her late Tuesdays and Thursdays. Some people are very good at seeming trustworthy. Would they take these seriously? Probably not immediately, but they'd remember them, they'd save them. When the truth came out, these messages would seem prescient rather than crazy. They'd make people feel like they'd suspected all along. They'd make the betrayal worse because people would feel foolish for not seeing it sooner. Information warfare isn't about forcing people to believe something. It's about preparing them to believe it when the right moment comes. I spent 6 weeks on phase 1, planting seeds, creating context, building a narrative framework that would support the weight of revelation when it came. Tyler and Sarah had no idea. Why would they? I was the same Derek I'd always been, reliable, trusting, kind. I still met Tyler for lunch every Friday. I still kissed Sarah goodbye every morning. I still played the part they needed me to play. The difference was that now I was playing it consciously. Every word was chosen, every action was calculated. I'd become an actor in my own life, performing a role while planning the destruction of the entire production. Phase 2, professional destruction. March arrived cold and grey. Perfect weather for what I was about to do. Tyler's weakness at work was that he cut corners. Not in ways that were obvious or dangerous, but in small ways that added up. He'd promised delivery dates he knew were optimistic. He'd oversell capabilities to clients. He'd take credit for team members' work. I knew this because he told me about it, laughing about how he'd managed expectations or guided the narrative. "You've got to play the game, Derek," he'd say. Tech moves fast. If you're always honest about limitations, someone less honest will beat you to the promotion. I'd always found this distasteful, but wrote it off as different industry cultures. Now I was going to use it against him. I created a detailed dossier of Tyler's professional misconduct. Nothing illegal, nothing that couldn't be explained away individually, but collectively. Damning promises made versus delivered. Client complaints that had been smoothed over. Team members who'd left because Tyler took credit for their work. Small ethics violations that he'd charmed his way out of. I gathered all of it. Emails I'd seen on his laptop when we worked together. Stories he'd told me over beers. Details I'd picked up from his colleagues at company events. I organized it chronologically, cross-referenced it, made it look like something compiled by someone with inside knowledge but outside perspective. Then I sent it anonymously to Meridian Solutions' ethics hotline, not to Rachel, not to anyone I knew, to the official, documented, required to investigate ethics channel. The email was simple. I am writing to Report Concerning Patterns of Behavior by Tyler Brennan, Product Development Lead. Over the past 18 months, Mr. Brennan has engaged in multiple instances of professional misconduct that merit investigation. Attached is documentation of the following issues: systematic misrepresentation of project timelines to clients, taking credit for subordinates' work, creating hostile work environment for team members who questioned his decisions, inappropriate relationships affecting professional judgment. This is submitted anonymously because I fear professional retaliation, but the evidence speaks for itself. Meridian Solutions deserves to know who they're promoting to leadership. The attachment was 30 pages, detailed, thorough, impossible to dismiss. I sent it on a Monday morning. By Wednesday, Tyler mentioned at lunch that he was dealing with some administrative stuff at work. "Nothing serious," he said. "Just some disgruntled team member stirring up trouble. HR has to investigate."
Every complaint, you know how it is. That sucks, man. Sorry you're dealing with that. It'll blow over. Always does. But it didn't blow over. I'd made sure of that by including the phrase, inappropriate relationships affecting professional judgment. HR had to investigate that. They had to ask questions. They had to interview people. And when they interviewed Tyler's colleagues asking about workplace relationships, someone mentioned seeing Tyler and a woman who wasn't his girlfriend around town. Someone else mentioned he'd seemed distracted lately. Someone else noted that he'd been taking a lot of personal calls. None of this proved anything, but it raised questions. It made Tyler look unprofessional. It made the other accusations seem more credible. By the end of March, Tyler's promotion was on hold pending review. He was stressed. I could see it in the tight way he held his shoulders, the way he drank more at our Friday lunches. "They're destroying my career over nothing," he
said. "Some anonymous coward sends in a bunch of complaints, and suddenly I'm guilty until proven innocent." That's rough. What are you going to do? Fight it. I've done nothing wrong. Well, nothing they can prove. Everyone plays the game the way I play it. I'm just the one who got caught in the spotlight. Maybe you should get a lawyer. Already did. He says I need to keep my head down, be a model employee, wait it out. Good advice. I watched him suffer and felt nothing. That should have concerned me. The old Derek would have felt sympathy, even knowing what I knew. But the old Derek was dead. While Tyler's professional life unraveled, I turned my attention to Sarah. Sarah's vulnerability was simpler. She was sleeping with her husband's best friend, and if anyone found out, she'd lose everything. I didn't need to destroy her professionally. I just needed to destroy her peace of mind. I started leaving evidence of my knowledge in subtle ways, nothing direct, nothing she could confront me about, just small things that would make her paranoid. I'd mention Tyler's cologne. "I like that scent." "What is it?" I'd come home early on Tuesday, forcing her to actually be at school. I'd ask questions about her evening. "How was grading? What did you work on? Which students' projects?" Specific questions. Questions that required detailed answers. Questions that would be hard to fake if she'd actually been somewhere else. I watched her get nervous, watched her start checking her phone obsessively, watched her and Tyler's pattern change. Fewer texts, fewer calls, more careful. Good. Let them be careful. Let them be scared. In early April, I did something more direct. I printed out one of Sarah's journal entries. The one about being confused, about loving two men, about not knowing whose child she might have. I left it in a book on her nightstand, a book she was reading, tucked right in the middle, where she'd find it when she picked up reading that night. I was in my office when I heard her gasp. I came downstairs. "Everything okay?" She was holding the printed page, her face white. "Where did you get this?" "Get what?" She stared at me. I kept my expression neutral, concerned. This is from my journal." "I don't know what you're talking about." "What is it?" She crumpled the page. "Nothing. It's nothing." "Sarah, it's nothing, Derek. Just something I wrote a long time ago. I didn't know I'd printed it." "Okay, if you say so." I went back upstairs. I listened to her make a phone call. "Tyler, we have a problem."
I couldn't hear his side of the conversation, but I heard hers. He knows something, or suspects. I don't know how, but we need to be more careful. No, we can't meet this week. It's too risky. I don't know. I don't know if he's testing me or if it's coincidence, but I'm scared. I love you too, but we have to stop, at least for a while. Tyler, please, please understand. I can't risk losing everything. She was crying.
When she hung up, I sat at my desk listening to my wife cry over another man and felt satisfaction, cold, pure satisfaction. Phase 3, personal reckoning. April turned to May. Spring in Portland, the city blooming and beautiful, while I cultivated destruction. Tyler's investigation was ongoing. He was still employed, but clearly suffering. The stress was showing. He'd lost weight. He snapped at people. Our Friday lunches became him venting about HR and anonymous cowards and career assassination. I listened, sympathized, offered support. Maybe you need to get away from it all for a bit, I suggested one Friday. Clear your head. Can't. If I take time off now, it looks like I'm running, like I'm guilty. Are you guilty? The question hung there. Tyler looked at me sharply. Of what they're accusing me of? No, I've played the game the way everyone plays it. I'm not a saint, Derek, but I'm not what they're trying to make me out to be. What about the relationship stuff? They
mentioned inappropriate relationships. That's bullshit. I'm not dating anyone at work. Never have. Okay, I believe you. Did I emphasize at work slightly? Maybe. Tyler's eyes flickered. He heard it. What are you saying? Nothing. I'm on your side, man. Always have been. But the seed was planted. Tyler knew I knew something. He just didn't know what or how much. I did the same thing to Sarah. Small comments, meaningful looks, creating an atmosphere of suspicion without ever making a direct accusation. You seem tired lately. Everything okay? How's Tyler doing with all his work stress? He must be talking to someone about it. I saw Tyler's car downtown yesterday. Thought you might have run into him. Each comment was innocuous. Each comment was loaded. Together they created a pattern of awareness that had to terrify her. Sarah and Tyler's relationship started to fracture. The stress was too much. I know because I recorded their phone calls. They fought about whether to
continue, about whether I suspected, about what would happen if I found out. Maybe we should just tell him, Sarah said during one call. Just be honest. He deserves that. And then what? Tyler's voice was harsh. He divorces you. He never speaks to me again. We lose everything. For what? So we can be together, officially? You think that'll work? You think we'll last when we're not sneaking around? The sneaking is half the appeal, Sarah. Be honest. That's not fair. It's completely fair. You love the drama. You love having both of us. You love the safety of Derek and the excitement of me. If you had to choose, you'd choose him. You've been choosing him for 4 years while pretending you might choose me someday. I do love you. You love the idea of me. You love what I represent. But you love Derek's stability more, and that's fine. I've made my peace with it. But don't pretend this is some great romance. It's an affair. That's all it's ever been. I listened to Sarah cry. I listened to Tyler's cruel honesty. I listened to them hurt each other and felt a grim satisfaction. They were destroying themselves. All I'd done was create the pressure. They were the ones failing under it. In mid-May, I took the next step. I sent Sarah's journal entries to her own email address from an anonymous account, just the worst ones, the ones about not knowing whose child she might have, the ones about choosing security over passion, the ones that made her look calculating and cold. The subject line, "You should be more careful about your passwords." She panicked. I know because I watched her through our home security camera. She ran to her laptop, checked her journal, tried to figure out if she'd been hacked. Then she called Tyler. "Someone has my journal. Someone sent me my own entries. Tyler, what if Derek—" "Calm down. Breathe. Did the email say anything else?" "No, just my entries. Just the worst ones." "Okay, could be a hacker, could be random." "It's not random."
It's deliberate. Someone is trying to tell me they know. Who would know? I don't know. Maybe Derek found it somehow. Maybe he's been reading it. Maybe he's known for months and he's been playing with us. Derek doesn't play games. Derek is direct. If he knew, he'd confront you. Would he? Are you sure? Because the Derek I know wouldn't. But maybe I don't actually know him. Maybe I've never actually known him. The beautiful thing about paranoia is that it feeds itself. I didn't need to do anything else. Sarah was now suspicious of everything, questioning everything, wondering if every normal interaction with me was actually me testing her. Tyler was spiraling at work, under investigation, watching his career prospects evaporate. Both of them were stressed, fighting, turning on each other. All I'd done was reveal what was already there. The instability, the lies, the fundamental unsustainability of their betrayal. I was the engineer who'd identified the structure's weak points and applied precise force. They were the ones collapsing. Phase 4, Revelation. June arrived, 6 months since I'd found the photograph. 6 months of systematic destruction disguised as normalcy. I'd gathered everything I needed: recordings, journal entries, emails, photographs, a complete record of their 4-year betrayal. I'd weakened both of their professional positions. Tyler's career was in jeopardy. Sarah was paranoid and isolated, having pushed away friends in her fear that someone knew. Now it was time for the revelation. But not a normal revelation. Not a confrontation in our kitchen or a dramatic scene. That would give them too much control. That would let them spin the narrative, make excuses, try to minimize. I needed the revelation to be public, undeniable, permanent. I started with Tyler's work. Remember Rachel Kim, the project manager who told me about Meridian Solutions' ethics policies? I reached out to her again. "Rachel, I need your advice on something." "Difficult." We met for coffee. I looked troubled, conflicted, reluctant. "What's going on?" "I've discovered something about Tyler, something that affects his work at Meridian. But he's my best friend and I don't know if I should say anything." "Derek, if this is about the investigation, it's related. But it's bigger than what they're looking into." "Rachel, Tyler has been having an affair with my wife for 4 years." Her expression went from professional concern to shock. "What?" "I found out a few months ago. I've been trying to figure out what to do. I didn't want to believe it, but I have proof. Recordings, emails, journal entries. And one of the things I discovered is that Sarah works at a school and Tyler sometimes meets her there during school hours. He's been using work time to carry on this affair." This was technically true. I'd discovered one email where they'd met for lunch at a cafe near her school, and Tyler had mentioned leaving work early to do it. "Derek, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I'm telling you because your ethics investigation asked about inappropriate relationships, and this is one. Tyler has been lying, manipulating, using company resources and time to betray his best friend. And if he'll do that in his personal life, how can Meridian trust him professionally?" I slid a folder across the table. This is some of the evidence. Not all of it, but enough. I'm not asking you to do anything with it. I thought you should know for the investigation. Rachel took the folder. She looked sick. Derek, are you sure you want to share this? This is going to destroy him. He destroyed me first, for 4 years. While smiling to my face, while being my best man, while sitting at my dinner table, I trusted him with everything and he took everything. And he never felt guilty enough to stop. So yes, I'm sure. Rachel reported it to HR. She had to, and R had to act within a
Week, Tyler was fired, not for the original complaints, but for conduct unbecoming, for lying during the investigation, for using company resources inappropriately, for creating a hostile work environment through personal drama. Meridian Solutions' employee handbook was clear. Personal conduct that reflected poorly on the company was grounds for termination. Tyler lost his job, his stock options, his career trajectory, his professional reputation in Portland's tech scene. And everyone knew why, because HR investigations aren't as confidential as people think. Word spread, the guy who was sleeping with his best friend's wife, the guy who got fired for it. Tyler called me the day he was fired. Derek, I need to talk to you. About what? About everything. About Sarah. About what you told Meridian. About why you'd destroy my career over... Over what, Tyler? Over you sleeping with my wife? Over 4 years of betrayal? Over making me the joke of my own life? Silence. You knew. I've
known for 6 months, since October. Since I found a photograph in a book I lent you. A photograph of my wife's hand on your chest. Time-stamped before our wedding. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Did you think you could just keep taking from me forever? Derek, I can explain. No, you can't. There's no explanation that makes this okay. No excuse that makes it forgivable. You were my best friend. She was my wife. And you both chose to betray me systematically for years while I trusted you completely. So no, I don't want your explanations. What do you want? I want you to understand what you took from me. I want you to feel what I felt. I want you to know that actions have consequences, and some betrayals can't be smoothed over with charm and apologies. I hung up. Next was Sarah's school. This was more delicate. I couldn't just send evidence to her principal. Teachers have unions, protections. An affair, even a terrible one, wasn't grounds for firing. But I didn't need her.
fired. I needed her reputation destroyed, and for that I needed her colleagues to know who she really was. I sent a detailed email to every teacher at her school, not anonymously this time, from my own email address. Dear Sarah Wellington's colleagues, my name is Derek Sullivan. I'm Sarah's husband. I'm writing to inform you of something that I believe you should know about someone you work with. For the past 4 years, Sarah has been having an affair with my best friend. I discovered this 6 months ago and have been gathering evidence since then. This email isn't about punishing her professionally. Her personal life is her own business. But it is about honesty. Many of you have confided in Sarah about your own relationships, your own struggles. Jennifer, Sarah supported you through your divorce, listening to you talk about your husband's betrayal while she was betraying me in exactly the same way. Others of you have trusted her with personal information, believing she was someone who valued honesty and integrity. I wanted you to know who you've been trusting. Not because I'm vindictive, but because you deserve to make informed decisions about your friendships. I've attached some evidence below. Not the worst of it, that stays private, but enough for you to understand that this isn't a misunderstanding or an allegation. This is documented fact. I wish you all the best in your work with students. They're lucky to have dedicated teachers. I just hope those teachers are people worthy of their trust. Sincerely, Derek Sullivan. The attachments were carefully chosen. Journal entries where Sarah mentioned specific colleagues by name, describing them in unflattering ways. Emails where she'd mocked school events. A recording where she and Tyler laughed about Jennifer's divorce. Not enough to be illegal, just enough to be devastating. The response was immediate. Sarah's phone exploded with calls and texts. Her email inbox flooded. She came home that afternoon,
pale and shaking. Derek, what did you do? I told them the truth. You sent my private journal to my entire school. You violated my privacy. You're destroying my career. I'm destroying your career. What do you think you've been doing to my life for 4 years? That's different. How? Explain to me how it's different. You betrayed me. You lied to me. You made me complicit in my own humiliation. And you did it while playing the role of loving wife. So explain to me why your privacy matters when you had no respect for my dignity. She couldn't. She tried. She started several sentences and abandoned them all. I loved you, she finally said. You had a funny way of showing it. I did. I do. Derek, it's complicated. Tyler and I don't want to hear about Tyler. I don't want to hear your explanations or your justifications or your feelings. I want you to pack a bag and leave my house. Your house? This is our house. No, this is my house. The one I paid the down payment on. The one I've been paying the mortgage on while you were sleeping with my best friend. And you're leaving tonight. Derek, please, can we talk about this? Can we try to... There's nothing to try. It's over. The marriage is over. We're over. I'll file for divorce tomorrow. My lawyer will be in touch. You've already talked to a lawyer? Sarah, I've been planning this for 6 months. Do you think I'd confront you without having every detail worked out? I learned from the best. You and Tyler taught me that careful planning and strategic deception are valuable skills. She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Who are you? I'm the man you created. The man who trusted completely and learned too late that trust is for fools. I'm what's left after you and Tyler took everything else. She left that night. Went to stay with a friend, one of the few who hadn't completely cut her off after my email. I watched her pack, watched her cry, watched her try to apologize one more.
Time at the door. I closed the door in her face. Then I sat in my empty house in the silence and felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, no relief. Just emptiness. The aftermath. The divorce took 4 months. Sarah's lawyer tried to fight me on the house, on the savings, on everything, but I had evidence of the affair. Oregon is a no-fault divorce state, but judges still consider conduct when dividing assets. And judges don't look kindly on 4-year affairs with the husband's best friend. I got the house, I got most of the savings. Sarah got her car and her personal belongings and a settlement that was generous, given the circumstances, but nowhere near half. Her lawyer called it vindictive. My lawyer called it appropriate consequences. Sarah lost her job eventually, not fired. They couldn't fire her for an affair, but the environment became so toxic that she resigned. Parents who'd loved her art program requested their children be moved to different classes. Colleagues who'd been her friends stopped speaking to her. The principal suggested gently that perhaps a fresh start at a different school would be best. She moved to Seattle. started over. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she was teaching at a private school there, rebuilding her life. Tyler's career destruction was more complete. Getting fired from Meridian Solutions made him radioactive in Portland's tech scene. The story of why he was fired spread fast. No one wanted to hire the guy who'd betrayed his best friend. No one wanted that kind of drama in their company culture. He took a job in San Francisco, significant step down in title and pay. Last I heard, he was doing product management at a mid-tier startup, nowhere near the leadership track he'd been on. I never spoke to either of them again. No final confrontation, no closure conversation, just silence. People asked me how I was doing. I said I was fine. I went to work. I did my job. I came home to my empty house. I was functioning. Everyone could see I was functioning. I went to therapy. My therapist, Dr. Patricia Morrison, was a patient woman in her 50s who specialized in trauma and betrayal. "How are you feeling about everything?" she asked in one of our early sessions. "I don't know, empty." I did what I set out to do. They're both suffering consequences, but I don't feel better. Did you expect to feel better? I expected to feel something. Satisfaction. Victory. Something. But it's just hollow. Revenge often is. It's not actually about making yourself feel better. It's about making them feel worse. And once you accomplish that, you realize it didn't heal anything. So what was the point? You tell me. What was the point? I thought about that for a long time. I wanted them to understand what they'd taken from me. I wanted them to lose what I lost. I wanted them to know that betrayal has consequences. And did they understand? Probably not. Tyler probably thinks I'm vindictive. Sarah probably
thinks I'm cruel. Neither of them probably understands that what I did was proportional to what they did. Is that true? Was it proportional? I don't know. I destroyed their careers, their reputations, their relationship with each other. They destroyed my ability to trust, my marriage, my friendship, my understanding of reality, which is worse. Dr. Morrison didn't answer. She never answered the big questions directly. The thing about revenge, she said instead, is that it doesn't undo what was done. It doesn't give you back what you lost. It just creates more loss. The question you have to ask yourself is whether that loss was worth it. 6 months later, it's December now, a year since I started planning their destruction. The house is quiet. I've been on a few dates, nothing serious, just attempts to prove to myself that I can still connect with people. It hasn't gone well. Turns out trusting someone new when you've been systematically betrayed by the people you trusted most is difficult. I still work at Cascade Design Group. They promoted me to lead engineer last month. Meaningful work, complicated problems, structures that need to bear weight, resist forces, stay standing despite everything trying to pull them apart. I'm good at that, maybe better now than I was before. I think about Tyler and Sarah sometimes. Wonder if they ever got back together after everything fell apart. Wonder if they hate me, or if they've moved on to hating each other. Wonder if they ever really understood what they did, or if they've reframed it in their minds as everyone being at fault. Everyone making mistakes, no one really to blame. Dr. Morrison asked me recently if I regretted what I'd done. I don't know, I said. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that they made it necessary, but the actual actions, the planning, the execution, the systematic destruction of their lives, no, I don't regret that. They earned it. That's a hard philosophy to carry. Harder than carrying the betrayal. Different, not easier, just different. She's right, it is hard. Living with what I did, with who I became, with the person I had to accomplish what I accomplished, it's hard. But you know what's harder? Being the fool, being the joke, being the guy who trusted while everyone else laughed at him behind his back. I'd rather be the villain of their story than the victim of mine. I found the photograph on a Tuesday afternoon tucked inside a book I'd lent him 3 years ago. That's where this started. A photograph and a book about revenge. Here's what I've learned. Betrayal doesn't announce itself. It wears the face of friendship, of love, of loyalty. It sits at your table, drinks your coffee, sleeps in your bed. It looks you in the eye and tells you it cares while systematically destroying you. And revenge is precise, it's patient. It's the application of force to identified pressure points. It's engineering applied to human destruction. Does it feel good? No, not the way you'd think. It feels necessary. It feels like justice. It feels like the only possible response to the impossible betrayal. Would I do it again? Yes, without hesitation. Because some betrayals are so complete, so systematic, so thorough that they demand a response equally complete, equally systematic, equally thorough. Tyler Brennan and Sarah Wellington took 4 years of my life. They took my trust, my friendship, my marriage, my understanding of reality. They took it all while smiling to my face and planning their next secret meeting. I took their careers, their reputations, their relationship with each other, their comfortable lives built on lies. We're even now, in the only way that matters. I still have the photograph. It's in a drawer in my office next to my divorce papers and a first edition of The Count of Monte Cristo. He bought myself as a gift when everything was finalized. Sometimes I take it out and look at it. Not because I enjoy it, but
because I need to remember. I need to remember what happened, what I did, who I became. I need to remember that trust, once broken, never fully heals. That love, once betrayed, never fully recovers. That friendship, once destroyed, leaves a space that nothing else can fill. And I need to remember that while revenge doesn't heal those wounds, it does something else. It establishes that there are consequences, that some people will fight back. That betrayal isn't free. My name is Derek Sullivan. I'm a structural engineer. I understand how things bear weight, how they resist forces, how they fail under pressure. I also understand that when someone takes everything from you, the only rational response is to take everything back. And I did. They're still standing, Tyler and Sarah, broken, diminished, scattered, but standing. So am I. The difference is that I chose this. I chose to fight back, to destroy them methodically, to make them understand what they'd taken. They chose betrayal. I chose justice, and I'd make the same choice again, every single time. Final reflection. It's late now, almost midnight. I'm sitting in my office looking out at Portland's lights, thinking about everything that's happened. Dr. Morrison would say I need to move forward, build a new life, find a way to trust again. She's probably right. But tonight, I'm thinking about a different question. Was it worth it? The planning, the manipulation, the systematic destruction, the months of pretending while gathering evidence, the cold calculation of other people's pressure points. Was it worth becoming the kind of person who could do all that? I think about the old Derek Sullivan, the one who trusted completely, who saw the best in people, who believed in loyalty and friendship and the basic decency of the people he loved. That person is gone, dead and buried, killed on Tyler Brennan's apartment floor when I found a photograph and understood Finally, what had been done to me. The new Derek, Sullivan is harder, more careful, more aware that people wear masks, that trust is a liability, that everyone is capable of systematic betrayal if given sufficient motivation. Is that better? Is that worse? Is it just different? I don't know. What I know is this. I sleep better now than I did when I first found out. When I was carrying the knowledge of their betrayal while pretending ignorance, I barely slept at all. The cognitive dissonance was crushing. Kissing my wife goodnight knowing where she'd been that afternoon. Having lunch with my best friend knowing what he'd done in my house when I was traveling. Now I sleep fine. Not great. I'm not sure I'll ever sleep great again. But fine, because I'm not carrying their secret anymore. I'm not protecting them from consequences. They're carrying their own weight now. And if that weight is crushing them, well, they built it themselves. I just made sure they couldn't pass it off to someone else. There's a kind of peace in that. Not
happiness, not satisfaction, but peace. The peace of accounts settled, of balances restored. People will judge me. Some already have. Mutual friends who heard the story and decided I went too far. Who thought I should have just divorced Sarah quietly, cut Tyler off, moved on. They don't understand that quiet divorce would have left Tyler untouched. Would have let him keep his career, his reputation, his comfortable life, while I rebuilt mine from wreckage. They don't understand that some betrayals are so complete that half measures aren't justice, they're just allowing the perpetrators to win. I didn't want half measures, I wanted complete accountability. And I got it. There's a moment in The Count of Monte Cristo that I've thought about a lot over the past year. Near the end, when Dantes has finally completed his revenge, he questions whether it was worth it, whether he had the right to play God with other people's lives, whether revenge is justice or just another form of evil.
Dumas doesn't give a clear answer. He leaves it ambiguous. Dantes gets his revenge but questions its value. He destroys his enemies but wonders if he's destroyed himself in the process. I understand that now. I destroyed Tyler and Sarah. I did it methodically, precisely, completely. I took everything they valued and turned it to ash. I made sure they understood that betrayal has consequences that match its scale. And in doing so, I became someone I barely recognize, someone capable of sustained deception, someone who can sit across from people he loves and plan their destruction, someone who can engineer emotional and professional ruin with the same precision he uses to design bridges. Is that person better than the fool who trusted blindly? I don't know. Is that person worse than the people who betrayed him? Also don't know. What I know is that I'm the person who survived, who fought back, who refused to be the victim of someone else's story. That has to count for something. I've started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I'm trying. Her name is Rachel, different Rachel, not the one from Meridian, and she's a landscape architect I met through work. We've had 3 dates. She's kind, intelligent, funny. She asked me on our last date why I got divorced. It's complicated, I said. It usually is. My ex-wife had an affair with my best friend for 4 years. Rachel's expression shifted. Sympathy, understanding, something else I couldn't quite read. That must have been devastating. It was. And when I found out, I didn't handle it well. What do you mean? And this is the moment where I have to decide who I am now, whether I'm honest about what I did, or whether I tell a sanitized version where I was the wounded party who took the high road. I mean, I destroyed them both, systematically. I gathered evidence for months, Then I destroyed their careers, their reputations, their relationship with each other. I made sure they understood that
actions have consequences. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. Do you regret it? I don't know. I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret doing it. They earned every consequence they got. That's a very precise kind of anger. I'm an engineer. Precision is what I do. She smiled slightly. And now, are you still angry? No. Now I'm just trying to figure out if I remember how to trust anyone. That's fair. Trust is hard to rebuild. We finished dinner. She hasn't called for a fourth date yet. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. Maybe hearing about what I did scared her off. Maybe she understands that the capacity for that kind of calculated revenge is also the capacity for other things she doesn't want in her life. I wouldn't blame her. It's past midnight now. I should sleep. I have a bridge review meeting tomorrow. Today, technically. Important work. Structures that need to bear weight, resist forces, last for decades despite everything trying to break them down. I'm
good at that work. Maybe better now that I understand how structures fail, how they collapse when the wrong force is applied to the right pressure point, how systematic stress can destroy even the strongest looking construction. Before I turn off my computer, I open the drawer one more time. The photograph, the divorce papers, the book. I look at them all, evidence of what happened, what I did, who I became. Then I close the drawer. Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold. Others say it's self-defeating, that it makes you as bad as the people who wronged you. Still others say it's necessary, that without consequences, betrayal becomes cost-free and everyone suffers. I don't know which is right. Maybe they're all right. Maybe they're all wrong. Maybe the truth is too complicated for easy moral judgments. What I know is this. I found a photograph on a Tuesday afternoon. I discovered a betrayal so complete that it required a response equally complete. I became someone capable
of systematic, calculated revenge. I destroyed two people I once loved because they destroyed me first. Was I right? Was I wrong? Was I justified? Ask me in 5 years. Maybe by then I'll know. Maybe by then I'll have rebuilt enough of my life to have perspective. Or maybe I'll still be sitting in this office late at night, looking at a photograph and wondering if the person who destroyed Tyler Brennan and Sarah Wellington was a hero or a villain, or just a wounded man who refused to accept victimhood. All I can tell you now is this. I'm still standing, broken in ways that may never fully heal, changed in ways I'm still discovering, but standing, and they're not. That has to mean something, even if I'm not sure what. My name is Derek Sullivan. I trusted completely. I was betrayed completely. I responded completely. And I do it all again because some betrayals are too fundamental to forgive, too systematic to forget, too complete to move past without equal justice. Tyler Brennan and Sarah Wellington taught me that people wear masks, that trust is dangerous, that love can be weaponized, that the people closest to you are capable of the deepest betrayals. I taught them that actions have consequences, that betrayal comes with a price, that some people fight back. We're all living with those lessons now. I hope they were worth learning. I really do.